In today's video, this mismatched set gets painted to match. What color? You'll have to watch to find out. Hello everyone, welcome. I am Sab with Sab's Rehabs, where I take old furniture and give it a whole new look. This is a set of nightstands that my client found, and I found the dresser. They're both French Provincial, but you can see that one has enamel paint on it, the other is oak wood. The top of the dresser has some damage, as well as the top of the nightstands, but I'm going to make this set look like it all goes together and make it match. All three pieces in this set that I'm putting together are completely solid wood. The tops, the sides, the drawers, everything is solid wood. So to clean these, I get some Dawn dish soap and some water, scrub them down really well, wipe away the excess soap, and then come back with a clean damp cloth to wipe away any soap residue. Next step is repairs. You can see there is a chip in this leg on one of the nightstands. I'm going to make a mold of a good side using some hot glue. I have done this trick a couple times on my channel. It works like a charm every time, and it is so much cheaper than buying mold kits off Amazon. Apply a thick layer of hot glue, let it cool, peel it up, and then you have a ready-made mold to fill in with some Bondo. Bondo is a two-part epoxy. You mix the wood filler together first, because when you first take the lid off, you can see that the oil has separated from the putty. So stir that really well. The next step is to add a tiny bit of the hardener. A little bit goes a long way. The more of the hardener, the faster it will dry, and this stuff already dries really fast. Add a tiny bit of that Bondo into the mold. Place the mold into place. Then I use some painter's tape to hold the mold down and let it set overnight. That was really the only repair that the nightstands needed. For the dresser, in the frame that goes in between a couple of the top drawers, there is a crack here that needs to be addressed. Once I remove the drawers, I can see what the issue is. So to repair that, I grab some wood glue and put it in a glue syringe so I can get the glue down in that crack. You can add a generous amount because you always want to wipe away your excess with a damp paper towel. After I get the glue applied to the crack, the next step is to clamp the wood into place and let it set overnight. It did take a couple clamps and multiple times of wiping away all that excess glue that kept popping out every time I added a new clamp. Now, for the record, you don't have to let wood glue and Bondo set overnight, but I do prefer to do that whenever I can. The next morning, I remove the tape and the hot glue mold that I made, and you can see that I kind of have the shape there, but it is a little messy, but nothing that a little bit of hand sanding won't clean up, and it looks good as new. The next step is to scuff sand the entire surface. The nightstand tops have some failing finish that is chipping off, so I do go ahead and remove all of that using some 120 grit sandpaper. I use my foam abrasive pads to go over all the details, and since these are French Provincial style, they have a lot of curve and detail, so I love having my surf prep sander to help with this style of furniture. After all that sanding, there are still a few spots on the top of the two nightstands that have some stains that did not come out. I'm afraid of bleed through, so my method to make sure that I don't have any oil stains coming through my paint is this. I apply a heavy coat of 50% vinegar, 50% water mixture, and then use either a kitchen scrub pad or some fine grade steel wool to scrub that oil out of the surface. Then the next step is to grab some baking soda. Sprinkle about 1/4 inch layer of baking soda on top and then let it dry overnight. The next morning, you can come out and vacuum away all that leftover baking soda. The baking soda just helps draw out any oils that might be down underneath that top layer of surface. And this is the only method I have found that really works to make sure that you don't get any oil seepage whenever you go to apply your water-based paints. To be extra careful to clean off after all that sanding, on the nightstands only, I did use some mineral spirits and some more fine grade steel wool to scrub to make sure there is no oils, no wax. I'm not going to have any issues with bleed through at all with this set. The dresser was a different story. It was much cleaner, not as much damage. So I just wiped away the sanding dust with a damp lint-free cloth and that's it. I am spraying this set, so I go ahead and tape the sides and across the drawers to protect them from overspray. If you hand paint your pieces, this is definitely a step that you can skip and you don't have to do. The bottom of the nightstands have 2 cabinet doors, and when they are closed, there is a small space or crack in between the doors. So I taped a nice crisp line across the bottom that I did hand paint, and then add a long piece in the middle behind where that seam is of the cabinet doors to block any overspray from going inside the cabinets. For primer today, I'm using Zinsser's Bullseye 123 water-based primer. It's extremely hot and this stuff is really thick, so I do water this down to spray it through my 3M AccuSpray gun. This is also a product that you can brush on by hand so you do not have to spray it. I sprayed 2 coats of primer, allowing it to dry a couple hours in between each coat. Let's take a few moments here and watch as we take the first few steps of taking this beautiful yet mismatched set and start to make it look more like it goes together. After 1 coat of primer, this is where I was at, so I did go ahead and apply a 2nd coat and let that dry. The next step is paint, and I am using Behr's Paint and Primer. This is enamel paint in the color Bleach Linen. I love this creamy white and I've used it a couple times on the channel. I spray a couple coats on all 3 pieces, allowing it to dry an hour in between each coat. I'm drying an hour in between each coat because it's about 95 degrees in Oklahoma right now. So sometimes I let it dry for a couple hours, sometimes an hour. It just depends on the temperature. In this picture, you can see the top is the creamy bleach linen and the bottom is primer white. So you can really see the difference here of how this isn't a very stark but yet beautiful white. While I wait for the coats of paint to dry, I work on all the hardware. First, I gave them a thorough cleaning with some Dawn dish soap and water. When they were dry, I grabbed my Dixie Belle's gilding wax in the color gold to freshen up the hardware and then give them a whole new matching look. The next day, I did apply 2 coats of water-based polyurethane to the dresser and nightstands, but I forgot to record it somehow. But this Behr satin finish is the product that I prefer to use. I'm not quite done yet. Inside one of the drawers is this nasty stain. I did cleaning and sanding and it would not go away. So the best way to deal with this is to seal spots like this with shellac. So I sprayed a nice coat. I'm sorry I have a terrible camera angle here, but I did spray a coat of shellac and let that dry, and applied this beautiful peel and stick wallpaper I found on Amazon and just completely covered up that stain. Next, I put all the hardware back on, and then the one last final step I had to do was to touch up the hinges. I did have them covered with tape during the spray. So I just used that same gold Dixie Bells gilding wax and made them match the handles. And now this set is done. Here's a quick reminder of our mismatch before and our matching after. This set looks absolutely brand new, but cost my client a lot less money. Furniture was saved from the landfill, my client got a new bedroom set, and I got some money in my pocket, so it's a win-win-win all the way around. So definitely something to think about when you're flipping furniture. Just because you don't have a matching set doesn't mean that you can't make one to help us save more furniture out of the landfill. That is all I have for you today. Until next time.